welcome back to my channel, or welcome back to my channel straight after my last video if you've heard me allude to this. I wanted to do a video on shadow elements in particular, and again I want to try and make this relatable, but obviously I'm going to go from my own perspective. I'm just hoping that some of what I say will be relatable to other people, and something that, you know, I think it's just like, it comes from a general human being level. I feel like a lot of the time when it comes to psychological healing and like affirmation, and I think for those of us, like my love language is words of affirmation. I think when you have toxic people in your life, they can kind of withhold words of affirmation from you because of the level that, you know, if people are trying to dominate you and such like that, or, you know, are toxic or disordered in some format or another, have personality disorder, you know, words of affirmation are really, really important to me as a person, I find. And I think I started to say in my last video, your inner child can be really confused a lot of the time about what is appropriate to integrate in terms of your shadow elements. And when it comes to other people, I was sort of prefacing saying, you know, if someone does something else and it triggers you, to know how to work from yourself. That's one level of, I suppose, shadow work, which I've done a lot of shadow work, but I think it's really important to talk about it. I think I have done like one video on it ages ago actually, but I've done a lot more since then, like through journaling and things like that. And I think the biggest part for me of shadow elements is to be able to work from yourself, and having the priority to work from yourself, and understanding that yourself is the most important person in your experience, and to know myself and to like work with my triggers and my emotions into this, that and the other, and to know my belief systems, see other people as other to the degree that is healthy, so I can prioritize myself moving forward. And that's taken a lot of work. But I think when it comes to other people, it's also important, I think, on an interpersonal level to create those boundaries and understand what your feelings are when it comes to other people, because in that way, like, there's a divine contrast anywhere, and a lot of the time when you don't integrate your shadow elements, other people can actually see them anyway, but they may be able to play on them. This is another thing. I don't, you know, it can be the case, but I think it is just important to understand like every aspect of your feeling, because sometimes it's very normal to feel things, because we only as human beings have a capacity for a certain amount of things. And I think it's easy, like, say if your inner child, yeah, has been projected on because of, you know, trauma, or, you know, a toxic parent, parentification, X, Y, and Z, it's easy for people, especially those that are broken and that do not know themselves, to take on that role and feel that either, you know, to try and punify, minimize, get some sort of you know, foothold or stronghold on your life by playing on those, that sort of lack of kind of those lack of boundaries in a sense. As a healthy adult, which I can say that it is, because you have to take account for the wounds that you didn't inflict upon yourself. Like, that is just healing 101 when it comes to psychological healing in Aquarius, or any probably time period. And it's like, it gets to a point where you have to then look at that and be like, you know, this is now what I'm having to deal with. Sorry, I'm going to get my fan out because my camera always overheats, and I'm going to try and avoid that. So yeah, I think that is like really, really important, to be honest, as a rule. Hopefully it won't be too loud. And yes, so I think it's just, I'm just going to go from like a meditative perspective. So I try to integrate meditation and like different levels of spirituality and such into my life, like I normally do. But I think, yeah, working just from like a meditative, like mindfulness perspective at this point is really just going to be a good place to start. So just like, I suppose, I feel like this as well, I think it can bring unknown guilt and shame and stuff on yourself when you're like, oh, I feel bad about X, Y, and Z. I think as well as a parent as well, you can feel like bad about feeling certain things, which are like quite normal. I think when it comes to my partner, I think like, oh, like sometimes I feel like irritated by him, but like naturally if you spend a lot of time with a person, by the law of contrast, you are going to feel irritated by them, and I have said this to them. And I think sometimes that can bring, because as well, it brings healthy action around you when you actually are aware of how you're feeling and how something is affecting you. You can make healthy action to actually change your circumstances to the point where like that's not a problem, so say, anymore. Or you can just like normalize it and be like, okay, yeah, well, this is normal, so that's fine. So yeah, I think that's one thing. And then like, I suppose around your children, like if, I mean, I don't really want to talk about that because I don't really know. My child's never really been an issue to me. I feel like I don't really necessarily want to talk about that, but and actually having those boundaries with myself as well, to be like, I don't really want to talk about that. You know, that's like one boundary, and it's like, it's quite normal to not really want to share that on the internet if that's not something that you want to choose to do, even though she has been in the background of some of my videos, just she's not part of my channel. And that's kind of normal as well, to do that, and that doesn't make me overprotective, it doesn't make me, you know, insecure and unstable. It just means that that's my choice and I'm able to do that. And yeah, I suppose I feel like I just want to address like feelings of anger that I've had recently, and I suppose this will come naturally when interacting with narcissistic people. But I think just natural feelings of like ongoing anger when you are being, I think let's talk about the ongoing mistreatments actually that people that are sort of a narcissist will expose you to. And people I really hate, and I think people will understand this, I think I noticed this about people that are cut bleed on you sometimes, and this is the biggest thing I hate about people in life. But often people will pick up on this, or not, as the case may be, and do it anyway. Lots of people like to do this, figure out what you hate the most and then do that. Or not, I don't know, it's a bit weird when people do that, because it just shows how hurt a person is when they decide to go for you like this. But